There we go. We're live.
We are up. Let's do this.
What's up? I say the KBB family, but also the Knowledge Broker family. What's up? What's up? I'm here with Jenna Kutcher.
We're ready.
We are ready to rock the house. You know, what our goal is today is to help you. If you're on the sidelines and haven't started yet, I want to talk about that a little more. If you're halfway through the course, if you're all the way through, if you're someone posting, I've already done 2 masterminds, or you're one of the silent minority who finally posted, it doesn't matter where you are. What our whole goal over the next hour or so to do, our goal is to show you to find the time and then how to prioritize it and then how to take action and just to go faster than where you are. If that's at a standstill and get started, fantastic. If that's killing it and want to go the next level, you're going to get that too.
Yeah. I mean, what I am so excited about is that today is about you getting results. And I don't know, like I have been one of those serial course buyers, and I can confidently tell you right now, today, as we sit here, I have made it through this entire course. And so I'm not just a teacher, I'm a student right alongside of you. And I've been taking my troop with me. And so wherever you are and however you're showing up today, I just want to say you are in the right place because what we have prepared for today is all about 30 days from now, whether you've already completed the course or you've yet to dive in, I want for you to send us a message and say, Jenna and Dean, I did this, and here are my results, because you are our next success stories. True. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And here's the thing: for so many of you, so many of your tribe, your amazing women who are rocking the house are here. But a lot of people you might not know Jenna. The reason I want Jenna here is not only is she someone who's a successful businesswoman while simultaneously being a mom. How old's your beautiful daughter?
6 months.
Oh my God, she's so beautiful. It's unbelievable. She was at my house all day yesterday. Cool. Not only juggling being an amazing mom, being a business leader, being an incredible wife, and the relationship they have, and impacting women all around the world, and always working on what's next, and has a balance unlike anyone I've ever met. So when it was time to say, who would I be on this, who would I go live with to help you clear out the clutter, find the space, find the emotional commitment you need, and actually do it, whether that's 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, or immersion of 14 hours without stopping, I didn't think there was anybody better that could help, and that's what we're here to talk about today. And I think one thing we talked about is, if you saw the video I did in the Facebook group yesterday, and Jen and I were talking about it, if you haven't started yet, if you feel like you're procrastinating, you feel like you're being lazy, I want to give you permission to forgive yourself right this minute. Life is busy. There's a lot going on for all of us, but you're here. That means you are someone ready for another step. And if you look at Kaizen, right, the definition of Kaizen is slow and steady progress. It's one step at a time. It's how do you run a 1,000-mile race? One step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. If you're biting off this course is 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, that's okay. As long as we're just going to do everything we can to not have you just totally avoid it and go maybe next year, because you know next year will turn into 5.
Yeah. I mean, for me, my personal experience is I was committed to going through this process. And I think that a lot of times life, it's just busy, right? Like I feel like the 2 biggest objections ever, and probably your objections when making such a big purchase and an investment in yourself, is time and money. And we all have the same amount of time in a day. And I feel like in a season right now with a newborn baby and nursing and running a business and all these things, I had to get strategic with my time. And so today we want to lay out practical ways that you can get strategic too, so that whether you're on a walk with your children or you're cooking dinner or you're in the shower listening to this content can change your life, and not just your life, but the people that you're going to impact. And that is why we are here. So I think we should just dive in.
Let's get and here's what I want to frame this, and it's cool because you're going to get 2 different perspectives. Yesterday, Jenna and I were working on this cool project in my house, and we're doing this back and forth, like talk show, like going back and forth. It was cool. And Jenna, you're a planner and very tactical, and you strategize your time. Where I'm just more like, I got to do it, right? But the balance is, we were talking about little things like if we were starting over. And what I shared was completely different than what Jenna shared, but that's the magic of what I think you'll feel here today is I don't think anybody will be left out. Man, woman, old, young, just starting or crushing, we're going to cover it all. So if I was going to give you the best advice. I've been an entrepreneur for over 30 years. I've failed miserably. I've had massive success and everywhere in between. If I was either starting over or wherever you are, one of the things I'd make sure, and most of you probably already have this, if you follow Jenna or me or Tony or any of the other great people that suggested you be here, you probably already do this, but I'm going to remind you today that if you don't have, again, we're going to talk tactical, but for me, I need my compelling future in front of me all the time. And what I need, that Jenna said, no way, I don't, and I want your opinion. She's like, I would never think through that, is I don't just write down what my compelling future looks like. I write my shitty, lack of a better word, horrible, horrific future. I literally write that down. If you guys have been through the course, you know, with the success loop, I write down what my life will be like if I don't take action. Because I just want to hack my brain in every way possible to get it done. Like even working out, I don't like working out, but I work out almost every day because I hack my brain on how I'll feel after. I feel like if I don't work out, how shitty will I feel if I don't work out? I also hack by saying my kids don't have to learn to work out. They're just going to watch their dad. So I do everything in my power. So when the alarm goes off at 5, I get my butt out of bed and go. And it's the same with this. For me, I'd love for you to have a one pager and draw a line down the middle of a piece of paper, and on the left-hand side say, if I don't take action, even if it's 10 minutes a day, if I don't, where will I be in 1 year, 3 year, 5 years? And I'd write down, I'm still in the job I like, not making the money I want, not making the impact on people's lives. I didn't go to the next level. I'm still running on a treadmill, or whatever it is. I don't feel the confidence as a man, or I don't feel secure as a woman. And like whatever that is, I'd feel it. Jenna doesn't like that. I do. On the opposite side, I'd write my compelling future if you take action. And that would be one of the anchors. What would be one of the anchors for you?
Yeah, so we love to debate this stuff because the way we think about things is differently, which I think is so amazing that we're coming together because however you see things or however you learn or implement best, I feel like we're hopefully going to hit on that. For me, what motivates me is having a plan. And so what I had to do is the second I joined KBB, I went through module by module. I printed out an actual calendar and I wrote down every day, 20 minutes a day. That was it. And it made me go all the way through the program. There was a few days that were a little longer, but here's the thing. Like I missed a few days and then all of a sudden I felt behind and then I had to catch up on my own time. And for me, what motivates me is seeing something that feels digestible. And I think a lot of times when it comes to education and learning new things and implementing, we start to feel overwhelmed and so we just freeze. And so for me, I was like, okay, today I'm going to go through this lesson and this lesson. It's 20 minutes. I had 20 minutes. I am worth 20 minutes. My life is worth 20 minutes. And as a new mom, sometimes that's hard to say. I feel like, you know, it's like put your oxygen mask on before helping others, and we're the last people to do that. And so what I would recommend and how I work through things is I need a tangible look at here is just 20 minutes or an hour. If I can map out 1 hour a day, just 1 hour a day where I am moving forward, where I am putting one imperfect foot in front of the other, that to me looks like progress. So I'm motivated by possibility, and I'm motivated by just seeing this small little thing, saying I am worthy of spending 1 hour towards growth. I'm worthy of spending 1 hour towards being schooled or learning or stretched or whatever that is. So we were laughing because he was like, I'm going to write down how my life could look if I don't take action. I'm like, I'm going to write down how my life would look if I do. So wherever you're at, whatever side you fall on, I would love for you to.
Okay, so I'm gonna because I see all these great questions that we've had and they're coming in. So, and I've been in the Facebook group, and so is Tony. So have you. I've read thousands and thousands of your comments. That's why when I go live each week in the Facebook group, it's based on what I'm reading. I want to serve and give you. Jenna's doing the same thing. So somebody commits to 20 minutes a day. Yeah. Right? They're in module 1, they're halfway through, it's getting to their superpower. And all of a sudden they go, I don't know my superpower. Yeah. So what is it, do you just, see, I know this answer because I've been doing courses for 20 years, is sometimes, and give me a thumbs up if this has ever happened, you maybe not with KBB, but you get there and you're like, I don't really know this part. And then you almost put the whole course on hold and you go, I got to think through that. Let me figure out what my superpower is. I'm just using that as an example. Could be agenda, could be marketing, could be running the event, could be any one of these sections. But what happens is people say, when I figure that out, I'll get back to the course. And then a week goes by, a month goes by, and then you're like, where was I in the course? Should I start over? Oh no, that one part. So how would you approach that?
Yeah, so what I've seen with my students is that there are two different camps. So people that take it and they're like, I know my superpower, I got this, I'm moving forward. And analysis paralysis is real, and it happens so much. And a lot of times too, I feel like we're diving too deep where we're thinking, I have to have the whole thing figured out. And I look back, Dean and I were talking about this, and he's like, when you left your corporate job to do this, did you imagine this? And I said, oh my God, no, I was just one step, looking at the staircase one step at a time. And so what I recommend is as you're working through the content, if something holds you up or you don't feel certain or you feel stuck, go on to the next module. I'm giving you permission to keep going
I was hoping that's
forward.
what you'd say.
Yes, because if you stop right there, you might have that breakthrough 5 minutes into the next one. And so what I've encouraged my students to do, and everyone, is to keep hitting play, keep showing up. Because for me, breakthroughs happen in the modules I least expected them.
Absolutely.
Or the ones where I was like, I don't know if I need this. Trust me, you need them all.
Yeah, and the other thing I saw, especially when we first started, people would be halfway through the course.
Yeah.
And they'd say, I don't think this is for me because I don't feel like my skill is mature enough. And my answer was, could you finish the whole course first and then come back and ask that, right?
Yep.
So what Jenna's answer was perfect, because if you stop, you're dinging your confidence a little bit. I mean, let's just be honest, in life, when your confidence is down, you don't do anything. So if you get to a section that feels overwhelming or you're not sure and you go, I'm not sure, your confidence in completing the course and being successful, all of it starts to go down, and you only need your confidence to drop 5%. You don't need to go from 100% to 0. You go to 95%, that's when you go, oh, no, I'm okay. No, I think this is good. Or no, I'll get to it later. No, you can't, because you won't get to it later. So I'm just reiterating what Jenna said, is keep pushing forward, because there could be something you're not expecting in module 4 that you'll look back and go, oh my God, that's the answer to what I needed in the beginning.
Yes. Well, and one thing for me that I took away so deeply was all of the tools. And I think one of the biggest questions that I got was, well, what if these tools don't necessarily apply to how I'm going to teach them? Guys, these tools are here for you first.
Yes, great
And
answer.
then take what serves your people, whether it's 1 or 2 or all or none. But I had the biggest breakthroughs personally, relationally, like professionally, when I went through the tools. And I think what we're prone to do is listen to the module and then say, well, I'll just implement this.
Yeah.
But if you don't do the work, KBB is set up in one of the most incredible ways, because Dean is encouraging us to take his tools and use them. Like, how many instructors say, take this and share it with the world? But the reason why there could be thousands of people going through this course, launching similar programs, and they will all be different, is the way that we apply these tools using our own stories, our own lives. And so if anything today, start working through these tools and take the time to really go 7 levels deep and do all of these things, because I experienced so much personal growth that I forgot that this was like a business course.
No, and I appreciate you saying that, because even you probably caught it as I was training. I was like, this is for your course, or is it for you? And because those tools are tools that I still use on a regular basis. You know, if you think about it, I said right in the beginning, I like to have a thought of, if I don't take action, if I don't move the needle, if I don't work hard now, right? What is David Kekage? He's a guy that got paralyzed years ago. He was a runner, got paralyzed from the neck down, and he's got these Kekage credos. And one of them was, he said, living hard is easy, and living easy is hard. And his whole point was, you know, eating McDonald's, sitting on the couch, and doing nothing is easy today. It's hard when you're older, have diabetes, and unhealthy. You know, not paying attention to the relationship is now. Go out to the bars, have drinks, ignore the bad relationship. It's easy now. It's hard when you got to get a divorce, right? And that's the way I looked at a lot of those tools. It's like they make you think in certain ways. We have to do a little bit of the hard work now to live the easier life later. So for me, like I said, the success loop, it gives me the thought process of, if I don't do this, and then if I do. And then in the beginning I said, bad future, compelling future. For me, when I'm stuck, this is just personal to me, the 7 levels deep, I know my why. I've been saying it from stage, from life, for over 10 years now. When I'm having a tough day, I literally resort back to, yes, I can resort back to timing. Yes, I can resort back to scheduling. I can resort back to all of that. But the truth, what really gets me is when I get in my heart and go, I want to be in control of my life. I want to give my kids choices. and I never want to go backwards. Like when I think about that, there's a trigger, a mental trigger. So yes, I want you to take the tools that I discovered and use them in your business, but they're there for you first. I'm just reiterating what Jenna said, and I love that you can look at it from that side because, listen, you gotta understand, we built this course, Tony and I mastermind and brainstormed on it, but then it's like, picture this, you know everything that's in KBB, the majority of you have gone through it.
Yeah.
It's like a puzzle with 1,500 pieces, and it's laid out on the table, and like, I sat for 3 months like, well, which one goes first? Like, do I teach how to market and then the tools and then what tool, like it was a process to think through all that.
Can I comment on this?
Yes.
So one of the biggest takeaways that my group had that I think needs to be all over you guys is a lot of times when we're starting to think about like teaching and all of a sudden we feel underqualified and overwhelmed and like, I don't know how to lay out a curriculum. Literally, you guys get out sticky notes. And I want for you to think of the end result because I think a lot of times we know what we want people to end on and then break down the 3 to 5 steps that somebody will have to take to get that end result, whether it's making a macrame holder or teaching people how to market or honoring your family or teaching your kids how to eat their vegetables, whatever that is. What are the 3 to 5 things? Write those on sticky notes and start figuring out your lessons. So inside of my group, what people were doing is they had the end result and then they had the 3 to 5 steps and then they started figuring out, okay, well, what lessons will go in? When you look at KBB, this curriculum, you're like, I could never build something this robust, this amazing. But when you start to break it down and say, okay, at the end of this lesson, someone needs to know this. Here's what I need to teach them. It's so cool, and it makes it so much easier to lay it out because otherwise it's daunting.
Yeah, I'd love to tell you. Let me tell you the precise mathematical and scientific way that we laid out this course. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, please don't.
I don't even use those. That's not even my terminology. Have you ever heard me say scientific or mathematical?
I was like, please don't do this.
I literally took all the pieces, and I've asked you guys before, you know, we didn't hold anything back in this course, but I took everything I wanted to teach, and I just started writing it out on a whiteboard. I started with a piece of paper on my journal. This isn't my journal today. It's just my daughter's notepad that I robbed off the kitchen table this morning with notes on it. But I was in my journal. I wrote everything I wanted to do. Like the big buckets were, how do I extract it, like extract their knowledge? How do I fill it?
Yep.
That's how to get the people to give you money. And then how do you run it? That was my, like from a year and a half ago. Extract it, fill it, run it. And then I wrote them down, extract, fill, run. And then I started, what does extract mean? Well, how do I know? Like, first I need to motivate people. All right, that's Tony's part. He wants to get in there and kill it. So once you're inspired and anchored to action, what's the next thing? Well, the next thing is I've asked, and so is Tony on stage when we said to people, hey, if you were gonna teach, who'd like to get paid for what you already know? The whole audience raised their hand.
Yep.
And I thought the biggest fear would be, how do I get people to pay me?
Yeah.
Because that's how I'd think.
Yeah.
Because I've been in it for so long.
Yeah.
People were like, no. How do I teach it? What am I good at?
Yes.
Like, because most people are unconscious competence. So when I'd ask, you worried about filling it? No, I think I'm worried about this. No, I'm worried about how do I teach it? How do I know what I'm good at?
Yep.
So then all of a sudden I just started thinking, okay, I think a big win would be, let's teach them that they have a superpower without realizing it. Then after a superpower, let's reverse it. Let's identify who would pay you for that superpower. So I just started taking, like, think of a whiteboard with 3 buckets, extract it, fill it, run it, with all kinds of notes under it. And then I put extract it, and I'm like, oh, this one goes here. Oh, that one could go here. And a lot of it is just like, logically, that's the way I'd want to learn it. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I was horrible, and like, I need it explained in a way where I go, oh, I get it. And could it have been better? Sure, I bet you there's some places it could have been switched, but guess what? It's still fantastic. And one thing you all have to realize, I've been doing this for 20 years, 22 years teaching people. But my first course that I did 22 years ago, from a kid who barely got out of high school, had dyslexia, who wrote horrible, like I typed like I talked. I created a course over 22 years ago. It was so horrible. Like, I look back at it now, it's embarrassing.
Well, let's
but guess
talk
what?
about that.
But guess what? I did an infomercial because I didn't know any other way to do it. There wasn't the internet back then. Like, didn't exist. I did an infomercial because Tony did an infomercial, right? I wore pleated khaki pants and a shirt that was 4 sizes too big. I had the worst New York accent. It was like, all you gotta do is call them. It was terrible, embarrassing. And guess what? People felt my authenticity. They got the course, and they loved it. Even though I'm embarrassed of it today, and I've evolved, I still taught people how to do something they didn't know. Like you said,
Yeah.
a chapter, you're a page ahead.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even have to be a chapter ahead if you're a page ahead of
Yeah.
somebody. My first course was how to make money flipping cars.
Yeah.
That was my first training. And I just knew how to do it a little bit better than other people. And I wrote what I want and people went nuts over it. And at the time I was happy. Now I know I've evolved, but that got me in the door. And one thing, I want to hear everything I'm saying. One thing I want to spend a little time on is some of you are thinking you have to have it all perfect. The website's got to be perfect. The pitch has to be perfect. The sales have to be perfect. Your presentation has to be perfect. Screw perfection. That will hold you back for years. I'm going to let you go.
Well, no. So here's what I recommend doing. And this is, if I were to start over today, this is what I would do exactly, okay? So as I'm going through KBB, what I would do is daily or every other day or even once a week, I would jump on social media, even if it's just my friends and family, and I would share what I'm learning. The thing that we forget is that we are our own publicist, and we need people to buy into the fact that we're growing and changing and evolving. And so if you're not planting breadcrumbs right now, if you're not laying out the foundation, if you're not sharing what you're passionate about now because you're waiting until you have that finished product, when you go to launch it, you're gonna hear crickets because people are gonna be like, wait, she's passionate about that? She's teaching about that? I didn't even know she did that. So what I would do is say, hey, I took this plunge, I made this investment, and I learned today about blah, blah, blah. Share your takeaways. I mean, the whole reason why I started promoting KBB was because I was simply sharing what I was learning while I was learning it, and people were interested. The second thing I would do is rely on the people that are already there. You don't need 10,000 followers. You don't need a perfect website. You already have people in your life, in your circle.
World, absolutely.
And so when you start sharing it, people are going to get curious. They're going to want to know. The first thing I ever did before I did a paid course or anything was I did a beta group, which was literally just a Facebook group. And I said, hey, I want to teach you guys about Instagram. And it built up my confidence. I didn't charge a penny for it, but it helped me to understand that, yes, I can get results. Yes, the way I think is different. And it was not stressful. It was empowering because I was able to see, oh my gosh, I think differently. So what's happening is you guys are waiting. You see Dean and I, we have multiple courses, multiple programs. We have really nice websites and beautiful photos. What we started with were the ugliest pages, typos, whatever, but we started sharing freely first, and then we started saying, can you give me $5, $7, $10, $20, whatever that was. My first course that I ever launched, I literally had just a MailChimp opt-in that said, join me. And so you have to just start moving forward, but share today, because if you're waiting until you're done, if you're waiting until you have the perfect course or program or mastermind, people aren't going to understand. They're not going to buy in until you start to show your passion.
Yeah, and even reading, again, it's the Roger Bannister 4-Minute Mile. I love being in the Facebook group because it's showing you, if you haven't started yet or you haven't had your first success yet, it's showing you people just like you who are having success. And I love, and I'm so horrible, I forget her name right now because there's so many of them, but it was a great story of like she was hoping for 20 people in her group, and she pushed it and only 7 came. And she wasn't like, oh, she was like, oh my God, like I wanted 20 and 7 people, I think it was $1,000 each or something like that, whatever the price was. And it's like, and she talked about all she learned and oh my God, and it's one thing that nobody values enough, and that is proof of concept. Like, I don't know about you, when you first put something out there, your little MailChimp, when you're like, nobody's gonna buy it, and all of a sudden, well, wait, somebody bought it?
If one person buys it, you have proof that there are people willing to pay. You got to find more like that one person. When any offer, if one person buys it, I'm like, I'm going to go find 5 people like that person, 10, 20, 1,000, whatever that looks like. Start small and work big, you guys. Like, you are putting so much pressure on yourselves, and it's breaking my heart because I'm like, get out there now.
It absolutely doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to. You just need to start. What was there a message 2 days ago I read, the dating coach, a girl said, I've been putting it off. People were trying to take my price down, and she found her value. She realized in the training when I talk about you're doing people a disservice if you have a great service and you're not selling it to them, you're screwing them over, right? And that clicked with her. And she said before the website was done, before she had everything perfect, she just picked up the phone and closed 3 clients at $300 each or whatever the number was. It's like, it is so far better to get in the game and fail, but learn while you're in the game rather than being in the stands going, well, when I get stronger I'll play, or why are they playing that way, or maybe I need a just get in the game, and it doesn't have to be perfect. The other thing I want to talk about, because I see a lot of comments on this, is you're afraid to charge. Yeah. Especially if you're in a space where it's like you're helping divorced couples be better with their children, or helping someone organize their house better, or helping somebody with anxiety, or helping somebody eat better. A lot of you are thinking to yourself, how can I charge it? It's only because, and I want your take on this, it's only because we were raised differently. We were raised that education is free unless you go to college, and then if you buy something, it's tangible, right? But it's your limiting belief, to use Tony Robbins' language that I learned from over 20 years ago. It's your limiting belief. The education, the knowledge business isn't going to $1 billion a day because people aren't realizing they could learn through their own trial and error. They could mess up with their kids through the divorce. They could not eat right. They could not work out. They'll have too much clutter in their house. They could learn or never be able to figure it out because they're too busy. Or they can cut a check for your experience, for your dedication. Or if you're the reporter of other people's knowledge, people want to cut a check to go faster. And let me ask you, if there's something, a skill, a hobby, a passion, an expertise you're good at, was it easy to learn? I don't know about you. It wasn't easy for me to be in this business. I failed miserably. I've had sleepless nights. I got prostatitis because I had so much stress and worry, and I failed, and I lost all my money, and I had family stop talking to me because I was crazy. And simultaneously, I had breakthroughs and grew as a human being and had, made millions of dollars in one day. Like, I've had all these vast experiences. I know exactly what not to do. When Tony and I are charging $250,000 to come to a mastermind we're launching, I don't feel bad for that because in retrospect, if I had it, I'd pay $1 million to be in there because I spent millions figuring this out. You spent time, effort, and energy being good at what you are good at. You have failed miserably. You have cried or stayed up all night or fought with your spouse because you were putting too much time in, or you neglected your children because you were out figuring it out. Someone else, you have to look through the eyes of someone else doesn't have to go through that if you can help them. And is that valuable? Hell yes.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest hang-ups, and I know this goes for women and men, but I also think kind of more specifically women, is that we're marketed to in a way that if you can promise that somebody's going to make more money, it's really easy to sell something, right? So if the promise is like, if you take this course, you're going to learn how to make money, easy. But what about when it comes to saving people time or giving them more joy? We feel apologetic for charging that way. And we have to shift the way we think because people need more time and more joy almost more than they need more money, really.
True story.
When I look at the world today, I'm like, people need time to be present and they need joy to just be happy. And so when you are selling something that maybe isn't a promise to make more money, you need to sell with as much gumption, with as much encouragement, with as much power, because the world needs more time and joy. And so for me, especially as a new mom, I'm like, I would pretty much pay any money to get my child to sleep through the night or to learn how to transition onto foods. I mean, all these weird things that I'm navigating in this new season, they're not making me money, but they are saving me time. And for me, time is my currency. And so you cannot be apologetic. You cannot withhold that desire to sell. You have to look at it like people will pay for joy. Look at Disney World. Look at Disneyland. People pay for joy and experience. And so many of you have amazing experiences to offer. So many of you have ways to teach people to save time, and that is worth money. That is worth so much money. Yeah, so don't hold back.
So think about this. So the other day, I'm getting ready to go to Florida to an event. Anyway, Ethan, who runs one of our cameras, comes over, and he's been asking me, come on, need more behind the scenes, more behind. You're always teaching. I just want to see what you do. So Ethan comes over in the morning before I jump on the plane to go, and I still do this myself, but I have my cheat sheet from my naturopath. He's an MD naturopath that I pay. I'll be honest, I pay 10 grand a year on top of my visits just to have this guy to oversee, right? And that seems very privileged, but I want to talk about it in a minute. So I got my cheat sheet, and then I got my vitamin, the weekly things, and I'm filling my morning and nighttime routine, right? So for me, I cut a check to have him look at my stuff.
Yep.
And that seems like a lot. But I'm 50. I'm in the best shape of my life. I have more energy than any 25-year-old I know. I took my blood. He analyzed it. A lot of you know this better than I do. He analyzed that every detail and said, you need more of this. Your adrenals are fried. You need this at 7 o'clock in the morning. Your sugar spikes at 2. You need to eat this and take this at 2. He's fine-tuned me where I'm in flow state all day. I never get tired. I have more energy than anyone I know. So he cost me $10,000 extra a year. How much of an ROI do I get on his time that I don't get tired when other people do? I don't take naps. I wake up at 4:50 every single day of my life. I'm done working out. I'm done working out by 6 o'clock. I make my kids breakfast. I read, like we have a morning routine. I take them to school. And then, so that benefits my life, my happiness, my joy. I'm 50, my son's 10. I told him, you'll never be able to beat me in a race. So that's the happy part of it. Yeah. It's worth the money. But also my return on investment, I work harder, stronger, in flow, better than anyone I know. He is not free. I have an ROI on that $10,000. When I was going through a divorce a few years ago, the anxiety hit me really bad. And I had a friend who's like the greatest therapist on the planet. And she literally felt bad charging me. She saved my life. Yeah. Like I went to a workshop. I worked with her on the phone. Literally, I had to force her to take money, and she wouldn't even take money. I'm bartering. I'm going to help her launch her book. If she doesn't, I'm sending her a big fat check. She transformed my life. I talked to a counselor once a week for 5 years to be a better dad. I didn't have a great example growing up. You got to look at this like, what am I going to do? Screw up being a dad when I can just tap into someone else's expertise? Eileen Paris, she helped me so much make great decisions. So I just want you to know this is where the world's going. Trial and error is stupid, for lack of a better word. Learning through your own trial and error. Listen, could you learn everything we taught you in the KBB course on your own? Yeah, over the next 20 years. Yeah. Or you were smart enough to cut a check and get decades into days. You just have to look through that different framework. You're not I got to charge them to be happy. No, they get to pay me to have the fast track to happiness, joy, better relationships, healthier eating, and that type of thing.
Before something changed for me, because I can honestly say, and Dean's talked to me about this a lot, but I hate selling. I don't know anyone who really loves to sell, but I've totally reframed the way that I'm thinking, and I'm still a work in progress on this. But when I look at charging for something, before I go on any webinar, before I jump on Instagram stories, before I write an email, I ask myself, not what I am taking from people, which is money, right? They can go out and make more, but what I'm giving to people. What will the cost be if people don't do this, if they don't take action? And sometimes for me, it feels silly. I think a lot of you can relate to this, but I'm charging to teach you about Instagram. And, Instagram is amazing, but what are you actually going to get out of this? You're going to feel empowered in your story. You're going to show up for your life in a different way. And just those are the things that I am giving to people instead of looking at they need to pay me for this. And I think that watching my students go through it, it's everything. So before, I personally pray, but before I go on to anything, I center myself and I say, here's what I'm going to give people. Here's why this matters. And here's why I won't shut up about it. And I think sometimes you guys need a kick in the butt to do that.
I agree. Especially and if you look, especially you logical thinkers who got in the course at the last minute before you can miss out, you will overanalyze it. It's okay. It doesn't make you bad. We need logical and emotional thinkers. You think it's bad. But the reason I taught, and I want to back up for a second. I taught one of the greatest gifts you'll ever get is that hook, story, close. That frames how you're going to sell, how you're going to write, how you're going to be on video. But I have to tell you, if you go into that training with the mindset of, wow, this hook, story, close, that means I'm going to take money from people, it will feel sleazy. It'll feel dirty. You'll feel I'm learning this technique to sell. Holy crap, I'm going to steal these people's money. If you go in with that framework, it'll turn you off. If you go in with exactly what Jenna said, oh my God, I get to help them through a divorce. I get to help them eat better. I get to help Dean be in flow state and be more present with his kids. I help them with better marketing, how to fly fish, how to do hair better, how to do extensions. All these different things. If you go in the framework, I can't help them unless I have a great hook and a great story and a great close. And at the end, they give me their money. I give them capabilities. They get joy, happiness, and abundance. Yay, everybody wins. And when you just, a subtle little shift, it goes from icky to holy shit.
Yeah. You know what I think is funny too? I just have to make a note. This is not off topic, but one of the most amazing things I want to know if you guys are doing this too is these tools can work in your life, whether it's negotiating with your spouse or negotiating with your children or even like closing people on why something matters or why, like I find myself like leaking these tools into my day-to-day life because this stuff, like, it doesn't just work in terms of business or selling. Like, it works day in and day out. I mean, I think the tools alone are worth taking action in your, I mean, you're going to see everything transform.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the kind of the where are you, where you want to go, why do you want it, how are you going to get there, I use that in every bit of negotiating. Yeah. Like, especially, we were joking about it last night. Yeah. For all the dudes out there, you already know this. And for the girls, I'm going to tell you, you already imagine it. Like, you sit at a conference table with 6 guys all peacocking and, like, trying to, like, what's posture? That's the word, right? Yep. Like, if there's 6 guys and there's 3 on each side and you're trying to make a deal, man, it's like, who's dressed the sharpest, who wants to vomit up how great they are and what they, like, I'm more of an, and I'm not dogging all the guys out there, not everybody's like this. I've just been in so many negotiating tables, and especially when someone wants to show their authority. And man, it really shifted me, and I'm going to give you this behind the scenes. It shifted me. You see, I have 100 gray shirts, right? Yeah. I stopped wearing suits. I stopped wearing sports jackets. I will go to the fanciest meeting for a $100 million deal with this T-shirt on and my Nikes. Like, and I'll usually keep my mouth shut. Always. And I'll watch everybody like, oh, this one, we need this. And I see the guy with the fancy, and it sounds like I'm dogging the guys that don't. I'm not. This is just my judgment. You could be judging this horrible T-shirt that I wear all the time.
People were asking if it's a new one, actually.
It is. So. They're all brand new. They're all about, after about 2 months, I don't like the way they look. I toss them out and I get new ones. So anyway, but the where are you, where you want to go, why, it's one of the tools you learn. I use that in every negotiation. Yeah. So I'll sit at a table and I'll watch everybody talk about what they want. And if you let them talk long enough, they'll talk about what they really kind of fear. And then at one point, I'll literally, and I'm sharing this for a reason, and I know I'm digressing here, but I'll stop and I'll go, hey guys, and this is way before everybody's time, but there was a show called Columbo, and it was a detective that played dumb but always solved it. Okay. Right? And at the end he'd go, oh wait, there's just one more question. Yeah. So I always think of the Columbo, and I wait and I let them talk, and I'm betting they're saying, oh, this guy's, I thought he was supposed to be smart. He hasn't said a word, the guy with the T-shirt on, and I'll just go, hey guys, I'm a little confused here. I hear everybody telling you what you're good at, but I can't imagine. Could you just tell me, guys, if it was a year from now, and we were all back in this room celebrating that this deal kicked ass, what does that look like to you guys? Mm-hmm. I'm a little confused. And if they can't tell me, a lot of times I walk out of the deal because they're all just trying to sell the deal, but no one's looking at where they actually want to go. And then sometimes I'll get a great person ticket and say, great question, Dean, here's where I'd want to go. And I go, well, why do you want this to happen? Oh, because if I do, I'll get a promotion. If I do, the company will grow. Now I know where they want to go. I know why they want it. And I go, well, then how do we make the deal? Oh, this is it. And all of a sudden, an hour of BS turns into 5 minutes of negotiating. We close the deal or I walk out. It's a tool that I use with my children. Like literally my kids will be, you're not there yet, but my kids will be debating with me. And I'll go, I get that, Bree, my daughter. I'll be like, but where do you want to go with? Like, if it was a year from now and you made this decision, what's that mean for you? Or if it was a month from now or 2 weeks from now. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, Dad, I'd be on the travel team, not just the regular team. And then if I want to go to college, I'll have that. I'm like, oh, that's great. So that's where you want to go and why. So how do we do it? Well, it's like, so just so you know, these tools are my life in everything I do. And it's just simplified because what do we all want out of life? We want magnified results. We want exponential results. We want to be able to do one thing and accomplish a lot. Time is the asset that runs out the most. So these tools in your life and in your business, if you went through them, go through them again and start thinking, how do I take my relationship to another level? How do I negotiate these deals? How do I get people to say yes? Listen, when I close a deal, a lot of times right before the close, right before I ask for the money, I'll be like, hey, you heard what my presentation is. So where is it that you want to go? Why do you want it? And can KBB or my book help take you there? If it can, then you need to get this course right now. Yeah. So again, these tools are a part of my life and they allow me to exponentially go faster in each area. And I think that's what we all want because if we can go faster to get the money and the impact, then there's more time left to be a mom. Yeah. If we go faster on negotiating the deal, more left to work out or fix your or enhance your relationship.
Well, let's talk about this because what I think is important about the story and the scenario Dean just laid out is the vision part. And I think a lot of us have that vision of what results we want people to get, right? Like we know where we want to take people, or we know and we've harnessed this superpower and we can kind of see that end result, even if it plays out a little differently in different people's lives. And sometimes when you're just starting, you have to just sell that vision. You might not know every single step that it's going to take for somebody to get there. And what I think we struggle with and what we question and when we start to beat ourselves up is we're saying, well, I know what I want people to get, but I might trip up, I might slip up, I might put something in the wrong spot or whatever. And what I have been recommending and what I do recommend is do a focus group. Like whether it's sitting down one-on-one with somebody who you think like, dang, if I could get this person results, this is going to change their life. And sit down, listen to the questions. I think a lot of times we talk, and we don't take a step back. And what is so important is when you can hear about the way people are talking about their problems or hear the questions that they're asking you, whether it's how do you organize your closet or how do you make crock pot meals, like whatever that looks like, you start to put the pieces together. And I think for a lot of people, when we hear the word superpower, we're like, Dean has a superpower, Jenna has a superpower. I don't know if I have one yet. What are people asking you about? What are the questions that you're getting? Who are coming forward and saying like, you are the go-to person, you are the authority when it comes to this. And so when I think about being visionaries, because that's exactly what you are as a leader, as a human being, you are a visionary. Sometimes we just have to sell that vision and figure out the steps along the way. And that's exactly what I've been doing lately. And what I think is so amazing is your job is to just show up. And I cannot stress this enough. The more imperfect and the more human you are, the more that you're like, hey, guys, I messed up here and I'm so sorry, but I figured this thing out. For me, I've been leading my group and my baby will start crying and I'm live and I'm like, Drew, just bring her down and let me feed her. I got to keep teaching. And for people to see that humanness and like, hey, she's leading us and I can lead other people imperfectly too. This isn't about being perfect. It's about having that vision and figuring it out and transforming people. If you've gotten yourself or even one person results in any area, you have a superpower. And the longer that you let this nitty-gritty stuff hold you back, the curriculum and all of those things, the longer that you're going to sit on the sidelines and watch everyone else take action.
Yeah, and if you, amazing, great feedback and share. If you look at even, and I'm just going to use Tony because so many of you knew Tony before you knew me or knew Jenna, is if you look at how Tony started, right? He just wanted to make an impact and get out of living in a car and having his address, the 7-Eleven down the street, right? And he didn't have a skill. But he found different areas that he became passionate about, just like what you're talking about, right? And what he did is he knew enough about sales because he was so impactful, passionate, not impactful, so passionate. He knew enough about sales to start saying, hey, I want to teach people. And as he started teaching, he had 3 people in a room. He thought he was going to have 500. He had 5 in a room. And then he found salespeople. In fact, one of the people that he modeled used to own this building.
That's crazy.
Right? And he found salespeople and went to their events. And as he was telling people, I'll teach you about sales, he was reading books about sales. He was going to events about sales. He was watching videos about sales. And all of a sudden, it started to grow. And he was the reporter of their expertise, but guess what happened after a really short time? He wasn't the reporter anymore. He had taught it so much. He saw the results so much. He realized that he loved that he was the expert. He was the sharer of the knowledge, and that just compounded. You know where Tony is today. But you don't have to start where Tony is or where Jenna is. None of us did. We all started scared. We all started when we were unprepared. We all started when everybody in our family told us we were insane and stupid and keep your job. Like, we all started at similar places. But the thing is, why we're doing this today is because we want you to start and we want you to continue. And we don't want you just to finish the course. I love seeing, please keep posting the pictures of when you graduate. That is amazing. It's why we built that certificate. But that's the starting line, not the finish line.
One thing I want to share, and I'm kind of watching the comments here as they're going in, because I want to make sure we're like showing up and getting you. I want to encourage you today and give you permission to pursue the lowest hanging fruit first. Now, what I think is happening is that when we talk about vision, it feels so grand, right? It feels so big and like we have these visions to like change the world, and I love that about you. Like, you're in this group because you feel that way. But sometimes we have to start with teaching what we know first and really getting out, like, what is your audience going to resonate with? Whether your audience is 10 people or 100 people that you knew from college and high school, like, what is that? And the more that you teach, regardless of the topic, regardless of the end result, the more confidence is built and the more you learn how to really create transformation. And so what I think happens a lot of times is we're like, I want to teach these like earth-shattering giant things, and I love that. But sometimes you have to start with what you know. You have to start with the things you're passionate. I was telling my group, if I went back to 8 years ago when I was in a windowless corporate office, I was not an entrepreneur, I didn't know anything about anything, I was thinking of a million different courses I could have started teaching. I could have taught people how to train for a marathon. I was training for a marathon. I could have taught them how to plan a wedding. I was planning a wedding. I could have taught them how to go gluten-free. Like all of these little things that feel so small and insignificant, but those could have been the gateway into these big, big ideas that like God, now I'm like, I want to change the life. And so it's okay to go off, like if you need to, and this is my goal, my hope for all of you, is when you make an investment like this, my biggest desire is like, I want you to earn back your investment right away. Like I want for you to go out. Sometimes you have to teach the things that will fund the dream. Sometimes you have to start with the lowest hanging fruit. And that low hanging fruit doesn't have to be rotten, right? Like it's still good fruit. But sometimes you have to start teaching the simple things that you know to get people results, even for $10, $20, $15. Fund the big dream. Start with the small stuff. Get people results, and then you can grow into this big, amazing person that you were made to become. But if you're waiting for this huge vision, this earth-shattering thing where you're going to charge thousands of dollars, you're never going to get going. No one starts there. Start small, work big. And I just think that we need that permission, that it's okay to start with that lower stuff and just start taking action. You know?
That was so good. When you watch this, rewind that and watch this again, because it's true. And you forget that because we all have these grandiose dreams. Mm-hmm. Like we all do. Like I wanted to be right where I'm at when I was in my 20s, but I thought I was going to be there when I started at 25. Yeah. I thought I'd be there by 27. It took longer, but the journey, I'm going to digress for a second. I love the book Shoe Dog.
Oh, yeah.
Love Shoe Dog, right? And at the end of the book, Shoe Dog is about Phil Knight, right? Mm-hmm. Phil Knight, who started Nike. From his garage, broke, nobody believed in him, sued, lost his money, merchant accounts frozen, all the things, but it's Nike, right? So we know the ending, right? Yeah. But he said at the end, he kept thinking, oh, when I get to 100 grand a year, $1 million a year, 100 million a year, 500 million a year, $1 billion, 20 billion a year. Mm-hmm. He said he kept thinking, when I get there, that's when I'm going to be satiated. And now he's older, and they said, what is the one thing you wish? He said, I wish I could do it all over again, but I wouldn't change one thing. Mm-hmm. The only thing I would do different is realize that each one of those was actually the good life. Like, while we were figuring out how to fix the broken merchant account, while we were figuring out why our distribution in Japan stopped making our sneakers, and we had all of that sitting around, collaborating, trying to figure it out, trying to borrow money, working out of the garage, all of it was amazing because so many people are stuck in a corporate job. They don't get to think. They don't get to solve problems. They don't get to advance and navigate new territory in the brain to solve those problems. Like nobody gets that. I had all of it, and I kept thinking it was to get there. I'm here. And you know what he said? I think he's got 100 billion or 50 billion bucks. He says, my kids know we're giving 100% away to charity. Yeah. Right? So he's like, I did all this, great. I'm giving it all away to charity. I wish I could do it over and enjoy the ride. Now we know that, but really think about that. You struggling right now to figure out what am I going to sell first, or how do I get more people? This is actually the fun part. We get to make an impact on people's lives, whether you're the reporter or the expertise. We get to get people, listen, I've been blessed to be in front of hundreds of thousands of people, and I get to watch them go to, like you felt when you got KBB, like what this amazing woman does when she helps you go faster and quicker. We get to watch transformation and get revenue for it. Enjoy this moment right now, even if you're struggling, even if you're worried, because you could be. I mean, would you change this life for $1 million a year in that corporate office?
No.
For $5 million a year?
No.
For $10 million a year? Right?
Nothing.
There's no money. $1 billion a year, you wouldn't go back to that, right? You get to. I watch the comments. I watch the transformation of your tribe, people following you, and you get to make a living and be a great mom. Like, This is the good life.
Yeah.
Even if you're struggling, scared, and didn't start yet.
Okay, so I'm going to jump into a question. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so one person just says, what are the steps to launch in less than 30 days? So I'm going to lay it out, and then you can battle me.
Yeah, let's do it.
This is why we're good together, because we'll push back on each other. So maybe you'll resonate with me, maybe you'll resonate with Dean. Okay, so here's what I would do. Let's just say you bought the course and you maybe took a few modules and you haven't really taken action, or you've ingested all of the content, but you don't actually have a plan yet. So I want for you, if you are a digital calendar person or a pen to paper, I want for you to map out the steps it's going to take. And I want for you to set aside at least 1 hour a day. Now, I made it through the entire course. I took every module in 30 days, and it was only Monday through Friday. And I even gave myself a few Fridays off and Mondays off. So if you can commit to the next 30 days saying, I am worthy of 1 hour a day, that's it. Now, if you are telling me you don't have time for that, I'm going to call BS on this, because I'm busier than I've ever been in my entire life, and I've figured out ways to fit it in. You figure out ways to fit in The Bachelor, Netflix, whatever that is. Figure out a way to fit this in. For me, it just looked like listening. So I had to do a lot of listening, and sometimes I'd have to listen to the modules more than once. One really cool idea is when Drew and I would go on a road trip, we would listen together, and even though he's not taking KBB, he was learning and he was encouraging, and he was somebody to talk through this. So the next thing that I would do is I would start to share what I'm learning. So I want for you to start to get bold in that, because I don't want for you to wait until you have the final plan. I want for you to invite people in on this journey, the KBB journey. You don't have to even mention the name of the course or anything, but I want for you to start sharing what you're taking away, because as you start to speak about it, you're going to gain confidence and you're going to get people's buy-in. And so I keep telling my people, I want to see you on Instagram stories. I want to see these posts, because what good is knowledge if we're not sharing it? And so even if KBB itself isn't aligned with what you're going to teach, if you're withholding this information, you're doing a disservice. The reason why Dean and Tony put this together was so that we could impact the world. And so start sharing what you're learning, how it applies to you, what you're passionate about. The next thing I would do is get bold. I would launch a beta group. And I don't care if you need to call people, if you need to make a list of 10 people, if you need to slide into DMs, or just post and you can get a response. But I would make a beta group and I would lead even just few people to results, so that you build up that confidence knowing I can teach this, I can make an impact, because I think confidence is the thing that's holding you back. So start a beta group, however you have to fill it, if it's one person, if it's 20 people, if it's 100 people, create some sort of way that you can get affirmed that the steps that you're teaching, the way that you're laying things out, the tools that you're implementing are getting people results. After that, get bold. Ask people to come into your house. You don't have to have flowers or popcorn or anything. Pull up some chairs. Make people sit on the floor. Whatever that looks like. Open up the door, whatever that door is. You don't need a convention center. You don't need any of that. You need your voice, and you need to show up. And so after you feel confident that you can get people a few results in a beta group, the beta group could be 1 day long, it could be a month long, it could be a year long, whatever you need in order to be affirmed that you can get action. Then move to the in-person part. One thing that I think is brilliant about this program, and a lot of you guys might know this about me, I'm super introverted. Dean is introverted too. I've always feared doing in-person events. They're draining to me, but I felt so encouraged about the possibilities of sitting face to face, and instead of talking at people, talking with them. And what's so incredible about the way that this is set up is that the responsibility isn't all on you. People are going to be learning from other people in the group. If you do this thing right, you are just a facilitator. Okay. And so if you're wondering, like, can I teach? Can I do this? Can I make an impact? Yes, just start giving out these tools. And so get a few people, ask your neighbors, whatever that looks like. I live in a tiny town, and I know that I could get 10 people to sit at the table with me, and I could change their lives. Now, after that, you have so many options. You could create an online course. You could run a year-long mastermind. But if you don't start small and work big today, a year from now, you're going to be sitting here and saying, well, dang it, this is just another course that I bought and I didn't take action on. So those are the exact steps I would take over the next 30 days. And trust me when I say this, you could easily earn back your investment and then some if you followed that step. Does that make sense? I'm watching your comments right now.
Amazing. And there was a couple comments that I'm trying to peek over your shoulder and still stay engaged, but I saw overwhelm, or how do you choose? How do you fit the time in? It's time and money, right?
Yep.
And one thing I want to share, I did a long training on this once, but I want to give it to you real simple. Do you know what binary thinking? You know what binary code? It's either a 1 or a 0. It's actual, it's factual. There's no gray. And I want you to start thinking, like if you want to find more time, I teach the not to-do list. That's a kind of simpler version. But I want to give it to you in a different way. What if you looked at the things that you do, the decisions you make to put time, right? What we focus on grows. If you're in great shape, you focus on health. If you have a great relationship, you focus on it. If you're making great money, you focus on it, right?
Yeah.
So what if you think of the things you do on a regular basis as binary thinking? And I wrote this down. Is it black or is it white? Is it a yes or is it no? Think in absolutes. And here's some examples. You're either climbing or you're sliding. There's no in between. You can't hover in life. You can't go, I'm good enough here. You start to slide. So you're climbing or sliding. There are only 2 activities, those that move the needle and those that don't.
Yep.
So again, is this all going to be exact? No, there are some gray things. But if you start thinking through this yes or no, black or white, it moves the needle or it doesn't, it makes me money or it doesn't. So many times when we start feeling a little overwhelmed, you know what we do? We start picking out colors for our logo. We start deciding what font our business is going to look like. We want to know what's the headline going to be, and we'll spend hours and months, and we'll ask 200 people, what do you like, purple or red in this? All of that is you're not making, does this move the needle or it doesn't? If it doesn't, stop that shit.
Yeah.
Like that. So think about it. There's either assets in your life or no assets. You're either in or you're out. There's either an activity that drains you or energizes you. It's either yes or no. It's victory or death. Like, I know that's extreme. It was extreme on purpose in this presentation I did. But I want you to think about overwhelm happens because you're doing too much crap that actually doesn't improve your life. It doesn't serve God. It doesn't serve your family. It doesn't serve the universe. It doesn't serve a bigger version of you. It doesn't serve the freedom you crave, the control you crave, the more time with it. It doesn't serve any of it. So really start analyzing on this. Of course, will there be gray? Yes, I want to repeat that. But there's going to be a lot of things you go, I've been doing that for years. It's like a hypnotic rhythm. Your parents taught it to you. You learned it in school. There's something you're doing, and if you really look at it, you're going to be like, that doesn't serve anything in my life. It doesn't move the needle. So, as simple as this sounds, pay attention to the needle movers. When I say needle mover, what moves you? If you need to focus more on marketing, more on creating a focus group, or a beta group.
Yep.
What are the things that drive you? And then start looking at the other stuff that's overwhelming you. I don't mean that in disrespect, but there's things overwhelming you that if you looked at it, if I was doing it, you'd look at me and go, just stop that. Just stop doing it. Don't diminish it. Don't just shut it off forever. And I really want you to think through that. It helps me every day because I literally get up. We have the same amount of time. You said it yesterday. Beyonce has the same amount of time in a day.
Such a Jenna quote.
It is. We all have the same amount of time, right?
Yeah.
So why not? Why does she do that? Why do I have 13 companies? Why does Jenna, as an amazing wife, amazing mom, amazing business leader, doing 7 figures a year, doing videos nonstop. Her pictures are way prettier than mine on Instagram. How does she fit it all in? I guarantee without her thinking about it, she looks at certain things and says, no, it just doesn't serve me. And something I got from one of my mentors, a different statement, but think about this as the last thing I'll say is, yes got you here. No will take you there.
Yes. Yeah, so one thing that I think is important to touch on, especially for people that are maybe jumping into the education for the first time, maybe this was your first investment that you've ever invested in. I think a lot of times as human beings, we have this tendency to look at this as the full blueprint and that we have to implement exactly the way. And what I want to encourage you to do, I saw somebody commented in here about the tools and how do we use them, and take what serves you and leave the rest behind. And as a CEO, because we are all CEOs of our own lives and our own worlds, you have to get really good at deciphering what serves you and your audience and your mission, and then you have to learn how to silence that noise. And so I want to kind of reiterate one really important point about this, because I've taken every single module of this program.
It's amazing.
Is that I have learned something from every single module. And some of this I'm like, oh, I could apply this to my family. I could apply this to my courses. Oh my gosh, I can apply this to my life. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to implement every single tool at every single thing that I do. you have to become really good at deciphering which tools will serve your people, which ones are simply serving you to become a better person, to show up in a bigger way, to make a bigger impact. And so I know it can be tempting. And what I encourage you to do is just take 30 days and work through every single module. You are in responsibility of doing that for yourself, but then asking yourself and really giving yourself permission, yes, to leave something behind. I think a lot of times we want to write down every note. We want to say, this is exactly how Dean and Jenna did this. But true leaders and true people that see success get really good at letting go at what doesn't serve them and only holding on to the things that will really inspire and impact change. Boom.
That's a mic drop. That was amazing.
We can't drop these mics, but you know.
I pull it out and drop it. Ding.
Me and Dean are going to make a talk show. What do you guys think?
What do you think? I think we're going to do a talk show. Two different perspectives, all with the same desire and goal. I mean, we're the same age, but besides that, I'm kidding. I wish. 20 years ago it was. But this is amazing. We appreciate you guys. And I hope you saw, listen, again, even with what we shared today, take what serves you and throw the rest away. Whether it's, like we had so many great comments. You had way more killer comments than I did. So but take what serves you out of what we shared today. If it's one thing, and that's what I love to teach in masterminds, whether that's in person or online. You know, whether you're doing a Zoom call online or in person, I love to share with a group before they sit down. It's like, you're going to get a ton of stuff. But there's going to be one thing that you learn over the next half a day, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, that will move the needle in your life, hands down. Put that in place. So whatever you learn today, even on this training, to help you move forward, so in the next, by 30 days from now, you're launching your beta group or your focus group or your actual mastermind or your Zoom call. What served you today? And go implement it right now. What do you have to say no to? What do you have to stop focusing on? What module do you need to revisit? Do you need to go in your calendar right now and set a half hour a day? What is the time? What do you have to just throw away in your life so you can fit a half hour a day for your next level?
Okay, I'm going to close this with a challenge that I have given to my dear friend Dean here. So today, what I want for you to do is figure out how you will celebrate your win. And I think too often in life, we are so hard on ourselves and we expect the world from ourselves and we hold ourselves to impossible standards. But what I want for you to do is imagine the scene of you changing just one person's life. What will that feel like? What will that look like? How will you actually pause and understand that? I know a lot of people that are leaders, we suck at this part. And I don't want for you to get into the habit of always being on to the next thing. I want for you to imagine you sitting face to face or doing a call or leading a group, whatever that looks like for you. Imagine that success. Imagine why you started this whole thing and figure out how you will celebrate, whatever that looks like for you, because life is so short. And I feel like I don't want for you to work through this and beat yourself up and think, I'm not ready, I'm not perfect, I'm not polished, I don't really know. You do know. And you are worthy of celebrating whatever that success looks like, if it's small or if it's giant. And if I know anything about you, it's going to be big. And so slow down, because I hold this guy to this thing, and I'm like, how are you going to celebrate? How are you going to celebrate?
I texted her when we finally decided how to celebrate. I had to text her just so I could get off the hook.
I know. So. I won't let you guys go through this without seeing the way that you are changing first, and then you are changing the lives of other people.
Amazing. Listen, it all starts with you. I know that's such a great, like, it's been said forever, but it's a true story. And you is just the best version of you. You don't have to be like anybody else in the Facebook group. If you're slower, that's okay. If you're going quicker, that's okay. If you're going to lock yourself in a room and do the course for 2 days without stopping, or you've already done that and you want to do it again, or it's a half hour a day, find what works for you, but just make it work, because the only thing I can share about having the ability to impact lives and get paid to do it is it's the greatest blessing in the history of the world. There's a million things I could do to make money. I get to help people go faster and get paid to do it. You do the same thing. It's a great gift, and we wish that same gift for you. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
See ya.